In the quiet, snow-blanketed town of Mystic Valley, Christmas was both a celebration and a cautionary tale. The townsfolk clung to the traditions of the season, not just out of joy, but out of fear. For in Mystic Valley, the old stories weren't just stories, they were warnings. Everyone knew about Krampus, the shadow of St. Nicholas. While Santa rewarded the good, Krampus came for the wicked. But it wasn't just misbehavior that summoned him. It was cruelty, selfishness, and a heart that took joy in hurting others. To those who crossed the line, he left a gift, one they wouldn't live to forget. 12-year-old Timmy didn't believe a word of it. He was the town's troublemaker, the kind of kid who laughed when others cried. Earlier that morning, he'd shoved a smaller kid into a snowbank and stolen his mittens, waving them in the air like a trophy. His parents had pleaded with him to behave. "Krampus watches the naughty ones," his mother warned, her voice trembling. "Good," Timmy shot back. "Tell him to bring it on." That night, the storm howled outside, rattling the windows of Timmy's room. He lay in bed, feeling smug after sneaking extra cookies from the kitchen. The flickering light of his bedside lamp cast shadows on the walls, but Timmy didn't notice until one shadow moved. A soft scratch echoed from his window. Timmy sat up, his heart skipping a beat. "Probably the wind," he muttered, but the scratching grew louder, more deliberate, until it became a heavy thud. Cautiously, he crept to the window and pulled back the curtain. Outside, standing in the snow, was a figure draped in a ragged red cloak. The figure was tall and broad, with horns that curved up from under a hood. Its eyes glowed faintly in the darkness, and over its shoulder hung a bulging sack that squirmed as though something inside was alive. Timmy stumbled back, tripping over his bed as the figure raised a long, clawed finger and pointed directly at him.
"Timmy!"
A deep, guttural voice whispered his name, the sound rattling through the glass. He blinked, and the figure was gone, but his bedroom door creaked open. Timmy's stomach churned as he saw what lay in the doorway, a blood-red box tied with a black ribbon. A tag hung from the top, scrawled with sharp, jagged writing, "For Timmy, naughty and proud." The air seemed to thicken as Timmy approached the box, his hand trembling as he tugged at the ribbon. The moment the knot came undone, the lid flew open and a burst of freezing air filled the room. From the shadows within, two glowing red eyes stared back at him. Then came the laugh, low and guttural, growing louder as the darkness spilled from the box, swallowing the room. When Timmy woke, he wasn't in his room anymore. He was lying on the cold, damp floor of a cavern. The air smelled of rotting wood and burnt hair. Around him were broken toys, their jagged edges twisted into grotesque shapes. Shadows shifted along the walls, moving even though there was no light. A low growl made Timmy's stomach turn. He looked up and saw him. Krampus. He was taller than Timmy imagined, his massive frame hunched to fit under the jagged ceiling. His horns scraped the stone, and his fur-lined cloak was caked with mud and blood. His face was pale and skeletal, his sharp teeth glinting as he grinned. Over his shoulder, the sack writhed as though something inside was trying to escape. In one clawed hand, Krampus held a rusted hook, its tip stained dark.
"Welcome to my workshop,"
Krampus growled, his voice like ice cracking on a frozen lake.
"You've been very busy this year, haven't you, Timmy?"
Timmy scrambled back, but Krampus moved faster, dragging him to his feet with a clawed hand that dug into his shoulder.
"Do you know what I do to children like you?"
Krampus hissed. His breath was hot and foul, making Timmy gag.
"I show them what it's like to be the ones they hurt."
Krampus dragged him to a shattered mirror hanging on the wall.
"Look,"
he commanded, shoving Timmy forward. Timmy stared into the mirror, and his reflection twisted. He was no longer himself. He was the smaller boy he'd pushed into the snow that morning, shivering and humiliated as laughter echoed around him. The scene changed, and he was now the kid whose mittens he'd stolen, his fingers red and raw from the freezing cold. Every act of cruelty Timmy had committed played out in the mirror, but this time he was the victim. The fear, the pain, the humiliation, it hit him all at once. "I'm sorry," Timmy screamed, tears streaming down his face. "I'll change! I swear!" But Krampus only laughed, the sound like the scrape of nails on glass.
"Sorry doesn't undo what's been done."
The cavern shifted around him, the broken toys coming to life. Sharp, rusted edges dragged him toward the sleigh at the center of the room. He screamed as the jagged claws of the toys tore at his skin, their hollow eyes glinting with malice. Krampus loomed above him, raising his rusted hook. The last thing Timmy saw was the shadow of it falling. The next morning, Timmy's parents found his room empty. The only thing left was the red box, the black ribbon coiled neatly on top. Inside was a single note: naughty forever. From that Christmas forward, the children of Mystic Valley were angels. No pranks, no teasing, no stealing. They didn't dare risk it, because they knew Krampus was watching, and his gifts were never ones you could return. The end. Remember to be good, or else you'll end up on Krampus's list. Merry Christmas! Ho, ho, ho! Like, share, and subscribe to Horror4U, your ultimate destination to fulfill all your horror needs.